He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do the superhero. He's gonna do it.
Welcome to Comicgeddon.
Where comics and TV collide.
All right, John, so let's get to it.
All right, Shannon.
So we had Supergirl meets the Flash this week. What'd you think?
I was disappointed in it. There was no really big lead up to it. It was just Supergirl in a normal Supergirl episode, I'm assuming. It's my second Supergirl episode. And then boom, there's Barry.
Yeah, no explanation.
Well, there's the explanation that
Yeah,
he's
slightly.
he's trying to build his speed up, and
Yeah.
he traveled through Earth 2. Which, if they would have used this week's Flash episode, which we'll get to, it might have explained a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because they didn't explain at all the device he was wearing, which, I think both of our parts, had we been smart enough to realize that the device he was wearing in Supergirl was the same that Ebar was wearing.
Yeah.
So, to build his speed. So, but if they would have used this week's Flash episode and then just waited a week,
Yeah.
it would have explained a little bit of how he got there. But instead, we just get, oh, I was running and boom,
Yeah.
Earth 2.
Yeah.
That was Earth 2, they
No,
said, right? No, Earth
no.
4?
Something
Earth,
like this.
It was another
Yeah.
Earth. It wasn't Earth 2, but it was an Earth without a Flash, or Evod, or Zoom, or any of them.
But
So-
they did have a, Mariah Carey?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was an entertaining episode. I don't think there was enough Flash.
That, and they jumped into the relationship between Supergirl and Flash too quickly. There's like, oh, you're a superhero too? Well, let's be best friends.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think it all came down to, oh, you're fast, I'm fast, let's be friends type of
Yeah.
thing. I wasn't impressed. I did like the relationship that Barry did have with her friends, though.
Yeah.
Much like his relationship with Cisco and his
And Jimmy Olsen being extremely jealous.
Still not liking Jimmy Olsen, by the way. Still not liking Jimmy
He's
Olsen.
too cool. Speaking of Jimmy Olsen, Batman vs Superman.
Batman versus Superman.
Do you remember?
Jimmy was in it.
Jimmy was in it briefly.
Very briefly.
He was the photographer that got shot at the beginning.
Yeah. So no more Jimmy Olsen in the
no.
DCMU universe.
So what would you rate this week's episode of Supergirl?
Just because they did finally get the Flash on there, some type of other crossover.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel it could have been handled a little better. 4.5, 4.5.
Yeah, I'd give it about a 5.
So,
Timing. All right, The Flash.
this episode, we get the Flash after the week before they finally found out that Jay Garrick is Zoom.
Yes.
I
However, in the previews for next week's episode,
haven't seen it.
You haven't seen the previews?
I'm not watching it till next week. I know they say the origin of it or something like that, but I don't want to.
Plug your ears.
I can't plug it. You're standing right next to me.
Go in the back. Okay, so it was revealed in the preview for next week's episode that it is actually Hunter Zolman as Zoom, and he's a serial killer from another Earth. So we'll bring John back in now that he's done being in timeout. And all right.
Did you see him in that?
No, I didn't until I turned around. All right, so go ahead with your review. Of
Okay,
Flash.
so he wants to be fast enough. He wants to be fast enough to beat Zoom. The only way that he feels to do this is to be taught by Ebon.
Mhm.
So how to do that? You go back in time, and you
And he actually
try to get taught.
And he screwed up time. He went back with the rules of not to screw with time, to get in, get out, and everything will get back to normal. He just had to stop what's his face from blowing up Star Labs.
Yeah.
So he gets back and he's kind of confused whenever.
And it was a Pied Piper.
Yeah, the Pied Piper.
Pied Piper character. He's back. A good but good.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's now a good guy.
He works with them now, so
So
that was kind of weird.
Yeah. This was an entertaining episode. I
Yeah.
like the fact that they brought back evil.
And I really like the fact that
Avon.
they got
Robert
Eddie
Thawne?
Thawne.
Eddie Thawne.
Yeah, Eddie Thawne.
He'll edit that part out.
That they got Eddie Thawne in there, and Barry actually.
I said her boyfriend, and you said no.
But you said Caitlin's boyfriend. That wasn't Caitlin's boyfriend. Ronnie Raymond was Caitlin's.
Iris's boyfriend.
Yes.
We both screwed up.
We'll leave it in. Screw it.
We're idiots.
This is supposed to be an entertaining show anyway, so why not?
What's more entertaining than watching two idiots who don't know anything? We're supposed to know everything.
Yeah. We're comic book geeks, it happens. But they got Eddie Thawne in there, and Barry actually got a video for Iris
Which was
of
cool.
Eddie, and he kind of lied to her again.
But it was a good
about
line.
it. Yeah, it was
it's
a
not
good
one
line.
she's going to be, pissed about later on.
Yeah. Maybe, if she finds out the truth. That he went
That
back
he
in
went
time.
back and didn't try to save him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. Freaking drama. It's the CW.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I forgot about that. In the Supergirl episode, they actually made a reference to the CW.
They did. They did. That sounds like a bad CW episode.
Yeah.
That was Cat Grant who said that, right?
Yeah.
Somehow Cat Grant. That's something else I didn't like. Somehow Cat Grant. Well, no, Cat Grant used logic to deduce that Barry is the Flash because
Yeah.
Barry shows up just as the Flash.
Well,
shows
she
up.
did kind of deduce that Kara was Supergirl early in the season, which was later rebutted, but
I wouldn't say there weren't too many. I'm not saying there weren't any good parts of that episode, but there weren't many to mention.
yeah.
But back to the Flash. That was a good episode. I liked it. I get a nice 5.5.
Back to Supergirl real quick.
Back to Supergirl. Rewind.
when Barry says, "Why don't we call him the Flash?" to Cat Grant.
Oh, it's a horrible name.
It sounds like you should be running around with a trench coat. Yeah, I'll give the Flash maybe an 8.
An 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
I think it was a nice
It was a
average
decent
episode.
episode, yeah.
All right, well, I'll up to a 6.
Arrow. Bad boys,
Give it something.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, bad boys.
Okay. Where are we on?
Arrow,
Arrow.
not Harrow. I know you need some hair, but it's Arrow with an A, not
Right.
Harrow with an H.
Right. Arrow. Arrow.
Beth came back. The Walking Dead's Beth.
Came back. She was creepy last time. She was probably even creepier this time.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like a very eventful
No.
episode. It was just they went.
Although we did get to see.
They went back to the Hero of the Month type of formula last.
You mean Villain of the Month?
That too. Well, on Arrow, it seems like there's a new hero show
Yeah.
popping up every other episode.
Well,
too.
this episode, they really did kind of speed things up going into Mr. Terrific. And did you catch the little Easter egg at the end where he said, "That was terrific"?
That was terrific. It'll be interesting to see if they actually bring him in, because his costume is really
Very simple.
It's simple, and it has that red T that's here and comes down.
Yeah,
So I'm
and
kinda curious if
the
they're
fair play on the sleeves of his
I
jacket.
wonder if they're actually just going to use face paint,
Probably.
like just leave his face the way it is and put like a red T on his face.
Is he even gonna?
Will he even have a costume?
Yeah.
Will he even be a character? Maybe it's just one of those things where you know who he's supposed to be. We're just not going to put him on the show type of as a hero.
Maybe they'll have the jacket that says "fair play" on the sleeves.
Something.
Give him a haircut because.
That's scary. Alfalfa, you are not. No, it wasn't really a big episode. Again, maybe an average 5.
Yeah, I'll go one better and give it a 6. There were some funny scenes in it and everything, but
Where are we at time-wise here? Well, we're at the 11-minute mark, so we're on The Walking Dead now.
yeah,
what
we're
we're
gonna
gonna do-
take a break.
Because we have a lot to discuss on The Walking Dead.
Stay
right there.
tuned.
Stay right there.
Welcome back.
to the Walking Dead review.
Yes.
You'll notice I'm holding up Mr. Daryl Dixon here in black and white, which you can find right here at Geeking Out Comics at 2924 North Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Decatur,
From
Illinois.
Pop Television.
So, why am I holding this? Well, this is part of the big final episode leading up to the season finale episode of The Walking Dead. Let's just start from the beginning. We've got Carol left last week. So we have a group of people, Rick and
several people splitting
Morgan.
off trying to go find her.
Well, no, we just had Rick and Morgan go after Carol. But Daryl left. And then we had Glenn.
But
we've got
actually,
Michonne.
Daryl left to go find Carol, but
We
they
thought- we
changed.
thought.
He changed his mind to help the others.
We thought he was going to go look for Carol. He instead was looking for Dwight.
Okay.
That's why he left. And so we have Rick and Morgan going after Carol. We've got Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita going after Daryl here.
Well, Daryl's going after Dwight.
While Daryl's going after Dwight.
If you don't know who Dwight is, he's the one with the burned face.
He's the one that killed Denise a few episodes, the last episode?
Not this past week, but the week before.
But yeah. He's the one that killed Denise. He's also the one that Daryl found in the woods. They stole his motorcycle and his crossbow.
And
Daryl-
killed Denise with Daryl's crossbow.
So Daryl has got these emotions right now going where he feels guilty for Denise's death for letting him live.
And he actually feels just as guilty about Denise as he did about Carol's daughter.
Yeah.
Because remember, Daryl was the only one who kept looking nonstop for Carol's daughter in season 2.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guilt going on in Daryl, and once he was found by Glenn and Rosita and Michonne, they basically begged him to come back. He's not thinking straight. This is the same thing that happened to many other characters who they go off half-cocked and not thinking. And what happens? They're no longer on the show.
But there was a twist. This one kind of synced up with the comics, but kind of not. It kind of veered off in like an Earth 2 type dynamic.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, it's Glenn who wants to leave the group, and he ends up.
And not Carol.
Yeah.
Carol at this point is already dead.
He's the one that ends up getting killed by
Negan.
and.
Who's Negan?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And what's the bat's name?
Lucille.
Yeah, Lucille. He's the one that ends up feeling Lucille's bite
Yeah.
because she's a vampire bat.
But this one it's Carol. Well, it's really hard to stay on track because the series kind of jumps all over. But going back to Carol real quick, we're getting to this. Believe me, because this is the biggie right here. Carol leaves and takes one of the vehicles that are being used to hold the walkers back. So naturally, it looks like a freaking porcupine on wheels because there's spikes all over the car. It's like something out of Mad Max.
Yeah.
And of course, Carol gets stopped, and she
had an ace up her sleeve.
Literally, she sewed a gun in her sleeve and nailed all these.
All except for 2.
They're called the saviors.
Yeah.
All but 2 saviors. One of them turned.
No. One of them she shot point blank range while he was laying on the
That's
ground.
right.
The other one followed Rick and Morgan, who followed her.
Who thought they were following her trail.
Yeah.
Ended up being another zombie. But out of that, we get a hint at the Kingdom. Did you notice that little reference?
I didn't.
The guy who was looking for his horse possibly looked like one of the main Ezekiel, I believe his name is, in the comic books.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Hey there.
And there's a possible reference to the Kingdom right there, which is a story arc later on in the comics.
Which here recently in the comics, Ezekiel, he's not having a good time. He didn't have a good time in the comics.
Well, we'll get to that when that time comes. But
Which will probably be a season or 2.
Morgan begged Rick to just go back to Alexandria and let him look for Carol, which was finally agreed upon. And so Rick's back in Alexandria by the end of the episode. Morgan's looking for Carol. Now we go back to the biggie. Right here. Daryl ends up getting looking for Dwight. Finds Glenn, Michonne, and Rosita tied up.
No, just Glenn and Michonne. Rosita was with Daryl.
That's right. Rosita was with Daryl. Finds him tied up. Well, he's about ready to do his Daryl thing, and who should find him from behind? Dwight. Turns around. Boom! Blood on the screen.
You'll be alright.
You'll be alright. Fade to black. So at this point, we don't know if Daryl is dead or alive, but it looked like a point-blank shot to the head. And we can't...
My thoughts are that since Rick didn't actually lose his hand in the series...
Do you think it's going to be Daryl?
I think it's going to be Daryl, because I think Dwight shot Daryl in the hand.
No, it was...
And it's going to cause him
According
to...
to Talking Dead, he got shot in the shoulder.
Do
In
what?
the shoulder.
Talking Dead, they said he got shot in
Well,
the
they said
shoulder.
he possibly got shot in the shoulder.
I thought he said it wrong.
It wasn't
And
confirmed.
What worries me is Norman Reedus is on the couch this week on Talking Dead.
That's where he's everybody.
Yeah.
So.
So, can I interrupt you to ask one question?
Sure.
When are you getting Rebirth, number one?
It's a good question.
It depends on Diamond Comics.
Well, when you do, set me aside a copy.
Will do.
That's all I was here for, other than to steal this, so I'll see you.
It's a good movie.
No, I know, I saw it at the theater. It's, if you're going to watch it, find a big screen.
Oh, I did.
Seriously, find a big
Oh,
screen.
my TV's good.
Yeah.
It's good size.
Yeah, because I'm going to be watching it. A friend of mine in Champagne's got a
Have a
90,
good one.
has a 96-inch screen. That's where I'm going to be watching it.
Nice.
Anyway, I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
And enjoy your chat. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Time in.
Time in. You might be a lead part of that conversation.
Yeah, we'll leave in part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, fades to black black and red because the camera screen's covered in Daryl's blood. There's a lot of theories. One is he got shot in the shoulder. One is he did get shot in the head, but he deliberately grazed him. There were chunks on that screen. Now I'm just pointing that out.
I seriously think Dwight might have blew off Daryl's hand. How is Daryl going to shoot a crossbow with one hand?
That's not too hard. You can do
Well, kind of.
that. But
It's a little bit harder to aim.
it's going to be interesting. Another thing to keep in mind is Daryl or Norman Reedus does have a new show coming out on AMC. That's not Daryl. It's him riding across country on a bike. So this could be a way of AMC. This could be a way of AMC killing the character off, but yet still giving everybody Norman Reedus in another show. So it's kind of ease the pain. So you still watch Norman Reedus, just not Daryl. So there's a lot of theories. There's also theories that he's just going to be really busy, not dying, staying on Walking Dead, doing this other show.
Which isn't unheard of.
There's also a theory that during him and Rick's confrontation with Jesus, that Norman got cut. It ended up being a fatal cut, but a slow death cut, and Daryl knows this. So he went out not expecting to come back, and possibly even slowly turning, and nobody knows. And so he may be dying at the end of next week's episode. There are so many theories right now.
Do you think, though, if they kill off Daryl, do you think they're going to have as many people come back for the next season?
Like
Viewers?
Because
Because so many people are watching it for Daryl.
they're going to have people coming back just to check out and see how different it's going to be. There's going to be those people who, if Daryl dies, we riot. But honestly, I don't see the viewing dropping much, if at all.
I still don't.
Because there's going to be,
I
still
really
gonna be a
don't
lot of
think they're
fan.
going to kill off Daryl simply because they use Norman Reedus in all the ads for the video games and all that stuff. At least his voiceover.
right.
So I don't see.
So
them-
he's kind of like their spokesperson,
yeah.
their promo,
So I really don't see them getting rid of him just yet. If they do,
if he's going to go out, he's not going to go out like that.
no,
that's
he's
what
going to
I
go
say.
out by a big bad.
That's why I say if he dies next episode,
It's gonna be
not going to be from the
epic.
shot. It's going to be he's going to be helping Carol. He's going to be trying to help Glenn. In fact, maybe Glenn does survive this season, it's because Daryl takes his spot and he gets his head bashed in by
Or
Negan.
Carol takes Glenn's spot.
Or
which
Carol-
I'm kind of thinking.
There's been a lot of hints that Carol is not going to survive this season.
However, they could twist it even more and make it to where Daryl gets bit by Lucille, which brings Carol back to where she needs to be.
Yeah. We do know that one of my people on my list will probably not be dying, and that's Maggie, because Maggie's now back at Alexandria. Now, she could easily probably find her way by the end of the episode. Maybe
Which is
Maggie.
another thing.
But,
This is what makes me think it's not going to be Glenn who dies. Because in the comics, Maggie is there and watches Negan beat Glenn to death with Lucille, the baseball bat. Which is a whole reason of why she leaves Alexandria for the hilltop.
Yeah.
It really messes with her and really digs into her trust for Rick.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do anything.
Right.
So without...
But she's not there.
Since Maggie's not there, I don't think Glenn's going to die.
Here's another possibility that nobody's even thought of. Rick's happy now. Who's he happy with? Michonne. Who's there with Glenn right now? Michonne. No, that's a thought. And I don't think it's ever come across anyway because Michonne's still alive in the comics.
But in the comics, Rick is with
Andrea.
Andrea, yeah.
I know Michonne right now is kind of filling that spot.
And in the comics, Michonne ends up with Ezekiel, which we'll get to later.
As soon as we get, that's probably coming next season. I think they hinted
King
at it.
Ezekiel.
Yeah, I think they hint. Well, they're supposed to be similar to the Hilltop people, to where they're also giving half of everything to Negan.
But I'm
sure they're going to end up teaming together and going after.
I like what they asked on Talking Dead about the tiger. How
That
they're
would
gonna
be
do that.
Well, they didn't say the tiger though. They just said the animal and how they're going to do that. So that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe the horse is supposed.
No.
Because he was looking for his horse.
No.
In the
Come
show,
on.
in the show, he was looking for his horse. So maybe it's a horse, not a tiger.
No.
No?
No. That'll ruin it. Because there's so many great scenes in the comics where Ezekiel's tiger actually protects him and even protects Rick.
So, but we'll see. We'll see when that comes up. But yeah.
So my
Theory here is, I think Daryl is done. Not right away. I don't think that shot is what kills him. But I think he's going to be dead by the end of next episode. It's a 90-minute episode, by the way, an hour-and-a-half episode.
See,
just
I
keep that in mind.
I
when you
don't
watch.
think he is done. I think Carol's done. I think Carol's death is going to cause Daryl to go off on his own quite a bit next season, which will kind of allow Norman Reedus to do his own show with still the fan possibility, making the fans happy that he could return at any time.
Yeah.
Even like
Well,
Morgan did.
Here's a thought. Going back to what you said with Maggie leaving the Hilltop people to lead them. Maybe it's Glenn. Maybe Glenn takes that spot.
Maybe.
So many theories right now. So many thoughts. Of course, we want to hear yours. Make sure you comment on.
And
the
of course, if Daryl survives, and they lead into where we're at in the comics now with King Ezekiel, once he, I won't spoil it, but once whatever happens to him happens, maybe Daryl will come back then to lead the kingdom.
Maybe. So I know we're just now hitting the 14-minute mark. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up real quick, though. This episode, definitely a high 8 for me as far as rating goes.
I'll give it a 9.
Very high 8. Yeah, I would hit almost at an 8.5. But this was an intense episode. It's only going to get worse from here, folks.
Yeah.
So make sure you let us know what you think of The Walking Dead in the comments. Of course, you can always message us on Facebook.
We're sweating bullets right now just thinking of all the possibilities.
And it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
We're going to say it's this, but it's going to go this way. And it's one of the things I like about the fact that this show doesn't match up with the books, but it has the heart of the books.
And it does, to an extent, match up with the books. There's still the same scenes, just not the exact same characters taking part.
Carol's dad, Andrea's alive in the books.
With Rick.
It's vice versa. It's Andrea's dead. Carol's alive.
And Carol's kind of taking Andrea's place, even though Carol and Rick aren't together.
Abraham should have been dead last week, type of thing. So, with the arrow through the eye.
Which after last week's episode, or this week's episode, whichever, I actually had a really weird dream. And dreams like this, oftentimes, they're kind of premonition-like. I feel that Abraham might die in this coming episode.
Oh, we'll see.
Getting shot in the face.
Well, we'll be back with viewer recommendations when we come back. Welcome back to Comicgeddon, where comics and TV collide, and sometimes movies. This show's mostly not just for comics and TV, I'll be honest. It's really for, the geek at heart. And the geek at heart in me is, I'm a huge movie buff. So I'm switching things up a bit this week.
And we couldn't use the Geeking app name because Kevin Smith is kind of stealing that.
Screw that, I had it first. Alright, I had it first. It's copyrighted. I want it on the show. But, I'm going to give you a movie that came out this past Tuesday here. It's highly recommended by me. I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. And with that being said, this came out, The Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight goes right back to Tarantino roots. I wasn't a big fan of Inglourious Basterds. I enjoyed it, but it didn't seem Tarantino-like to me enough. Django Unchained, that was alright. But this brings me back to Reservoir Dogs, definitely Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. This is, to me, that's kind of what I'm calling. I'm calling this the Reservoir Dogs in the West. You got Samuel Jackson, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Walton Coggins, Damon Bichir, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, and Bruce Dern. They are the Hateful Eight. They're in a cabin during a blizzard. Kurt Russell is taking Jennifer Jason Leigh to a town to be hung because he's a bounty hunter, as is Samuel Jackson. But somebody wants to rescue her. Kill them and rescue her. But we don't know who. It's a mystery. Which, of course, you find out at the end of the movie and how everything came about in typical Tarantino fashion. It is definitely rated R. It is a lot of cursing, a lot of blood, and I bring up the blood and gore because who's responsible for that? Well, let's see here. It's not on the back of the box. I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was. Sorry. Walking Dead's Greg Nicotero. He does all the gore in this movie. So make sure you check it out. That's my viewing recommendation for the week. I now give you in the capable hands of Mr. Shannon with his viewing recommendation.
Reading recommendations. So, as you see, I've got a big lot of comics here for reading recommendations.
I have a question real quick. It's an important question.
Who's Negan?
Now, did I interrupt you?
Yes.
All right. So, John's over there playing with his nuts.
Your chocolate.
They're salty, too. So, reading recommendations. I brought you this big stack of comics right here because they're all interlinked. We have the Final Night storyline, where a Sun Eater travels the universe, comes to the Milky Way galaxy, and begins devouring Earth's sun, which is why it's called the Final Night. Great story. It leads into the death of Hal Jordan. I won't spoil it for you, but it does lead how he dies. It is the death, which then in turn goes on to the funeral of Hal Jordan. These are all from my personal collection, which then in turn leads into Day of Judgment, which introduces Hal Jordan on the road to redemption from being Parallax as the Spectre. And that, in and of itself, leads into Green Lantern Rebirth. So, if you have the money and you have the time, pick up these comics. I've got the graphic novel of Rebirth. I'm not sure if Final Night and Day of Judgment are in graphic novel form yet. Do you know, John?
I believe so.
They are? So if you don't want to buy the individual copies, pick up the graphic novels of Final Night and Day of Judgment, and then all you have to do is pick up Funeral of Hal Jordan. And so those are your reading recommendations for this week. Next week, we'll have even more rating recommendations and viewing recommendations.
We recommend you just make sure you tune in next week,
Yes.
because it's always fun, even if we don't know what we're talking about. And that's half the fun.
It is you who are the ball licker!
Guilty!
I am the Click Commander.